teach abroad in China without a bachelor's degree? This school said that they would hire me, but only on a tourist visa. Is that legal? I'm a non-native speaker. Can I still teach abroad in China? Hey everybody, it's Rochelle from Adventures Around Asia, and today we are going to be talking about who exactly is legal to teach in China. What are all the requirements to teach in China? Who exactly is legal, and what are some loopholes that maybe if you don't meet the requirements you can still teach in China legally and also illegally. I'm also going to talk about ways that you can accidentally teach illegally even though you are legal to teach in China, even though you meet all of the legal requirements. So if you are at all confused about who exactly is legal to teach in China and what exactly do you need to teach legally, this is the video for you. One thing that I've really noticed from a lot of the questions and comments that I've been getting from people over the last few years is that the information online about who exactly is legal to teach in China is super confusing. Firstly, it's either very vague and not specific at all, or it is so specific and complicated and goes into way too much detail that you're just left completely confused. Also, there are some loopholes and things in there and ways to get around rules that a lot of people don't touch on, but maybe like one website will mention it, and then it's just really confusing. So I figured, okay, let me just break it all down for you, make it super easy to follow so that you guys know exactly what you need to do in order to teach in China legally. First, I'm going to give you the basic ESL requirements. So if you want to teach English as a second language, like oral English or something in China, here are the requirements that you need, just the basic ones, in order to teach legally. Now, the first one is that you need a passport from a native speaker country. And I don't love that term because there are native speakers of English who are not in this list of countries, but here is the list of the 7 countries that they're always looking for. It is US, UK, Canada, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. Those count as the sort of native speaker countries for China. You need a passport from one of these countries if you want to teach English as a second language legally. Now, second, you need a bachelor's degree, all right? Not an associate's degree, not a 2-year degree. No, you need an actual authenticated bachelor's degree. Now, the third thing that you need is some sort of certification. Now, typically this is going to be a TEFL, and if you have not seen my video on TEFLs, definitely go and watch that because I'll go super in depth on the different certifications and what you need. But typically it's going to be a TEFL. TESOL also works. CELTA is fine, as well as a teaching certification, like if you're a certified teacher in your home country. Any of those will work. You just need some sort of certification. Just make sure that it meets the parameters for what you need to work in China. So if you are at all curious, if you don't have your TEFL yet, go watch my video on TEFLs. I'll explain all of it. Now, the fourth thing you need is a clean criminal background check. So no major felonies, no extensive jail time, you're not on the registered sex offenders list. Basic, working with kids. Now, the fifth one, I personally also really do not agree with this, but it is that you are under 55 to 60 years old, because it's 55 for women and 60 for men is the retirement age in China, and it is very difficult to get a legal working visa in China if you are over the legal retirement age. I really disagree with this. I disagree with a lot of these visa requirements, but I don't make the rules, do I? Nope, nobody asked me. But yeah, so it is very difficult for you to get a legal working visa if you are over 55 as a woman and over 60 as a man. Now, for those of you who are non-native speakers or who are not passport holders from one of those 7 countries, there is another major way in order to get around this native speaker requirement, and that is if you are a certified or otherwise known as qualified teacher. So what exactly does that mean? Basically, if you are certified to teach in your home country, like you could right now in your home country walk into a public school and teach a subject there, then you can definitely teach abroad in China. The thing is, if you're not from one of those 7 native speaker countries, you can't teach English, but you can teach a subject in English. So for example, I had a friend from Denmark. She taught math in English at an international school. So there are a lot of these international schools or high-level training centers that are able to hire certified teachers with 2+ years of working experience to teach a certain subject in English, and there are so many different options. Now, I had a coworker who taught AP US history at my training center. I've met people from India teaching math. I've met people from Pakistan teaching science. Like, there are so many different opportunities that you can have if you're not from one of those 7 countries. But what you need to do is become a certified teacher in your home country and have 2 years of teaching experience. All right, this is the most official way. This is the way that works for every single province in China. If you are certified to teach in your home country, no matter where you're from, you can teach a subject in English at a high-level training center or an international school, which is great because those are like the best jobs, the highest paying jobs go to the certified teachers. So this is actually great news for you if you are a certified teacher. Now, if you are from one of those 7 native speaker countries and you're a certified teacher, great. You can teach English at an international school. You can teach whatever you want at an international school as long as you're certified to teach it. Now, if you do have this teaching certification from your home country, you do not need a TEFL, okay? I talk about this again in that TEFL video that I did, but this kind of overrides your TEFL. It's seen as better than your TEFL. So if you are certified to teach in your home country, you do not need a TEFL, and you do not need to be from one of those 7 native speaker countries, all right? Your teaching certification and 2+ years of working experience sort of overrides those 2 qualifications. Now, if you are a non-native speaker of English, I do recommend grabbing a TEFL potentially just to sort of show your employer like, hey, you know, I have a good command of English. I can also sort of use English to teach while I'm also teaching my subject. Another way to sort of prove your English proficiency is to create an introduction video, just a short little 3-minute video. Hey, here's my name, here's my background, here's why I'm excited to teach in China. This video will showcase the fact that you can actually speak English. If they can understand you in the video, then the students will be able to understand you when you're teaching math or science or economics or whatever it is that you want to teach. In addition to this, there are 2 loopholes that I want to address. The first loophole I want to discuss is if you got your bachelor's degree at one of those 7 native speaker countries, even if you don't have a passport from one of those countries, if your bachelor's degree is from one of those countries, you can still get a legal job in China in some provinces. I've heard good things about Zhejiang province. I know there are a few others where you can get around this requirement. The requirements are a little less strict. So let's say you're from Spain, but you got your bachelor's degree in the US. You can still teach abroad in China in some provinces. Now, just be aware that it's not every province and not everyone knows about this loophole. So if you're applying for jobs in China and a recruiter or a school says, hey, you know, we can't work with you, we can't hire you, you don't meet the legal requirements, just keep applying because some provinces will be able to actually hire you. So don't take no for an answer. Just start applying early. It might take you a little while, but you should be able to find something. Now, I have heard of a second loophole, and that is if you have extensive teaching experience, like 2+ years of teaching experience or more, some places may still be able to hire you even if you are a non-native speaker of English. All right, now I cannot verify this because I don't know anybody personally who's gotten around this, but I have heard through the grapevine that it is potentially possible. So just keep applying and see. It may be a potential loophole depending on where you're applying, and these loopholes will probably be in smaller provinces or in Western China. Definitely not, you know, Beijing or Shanghai, but you may be able to find something. Now, for those of you without bachelor's degrees, it's pretty much impossible to get a legal job teaching in China. It doesn't mean you can't go to China, it just means that it's pretty much impossible to get a job teaching abroad legally in China. Now, I have some friends without bachelor's degrees who are just fantastic teachers, and they're very passionate, maybe even better than a lot of my friends with bachelor's degrees, but it's just the way that the rules work, it's the way that the laws work. They cannot hire you to teach legally in China if you do not have a bachelor's degree. So if this is just something that you want to do for fun for a year, you can still teach in China, just not legally. We'll get to that in this video. But if this is something that you're really passionate about and really serious about doing long term, I do highly, highly suggest getting your bachelor's degree even just online. Like I have some friends right now who are getting their bachelor's degrees online because they love teaching abroad and they want to do it legally. So that is my big advice for you if you don't have a bachelor's degree and you want to take this seriously and do it long term. Get your bachelor's degree online. Now, finally, I want to talk a little bit about teaching illegally in China. And there are many different ways that this can happen or that you can do this. So I want to kind of touch on all of them quickly. The first one is people teaching full-time on either a tourist or a business visa. Now, if you are teaching on a tourist or on a business visa, you are not teaching legally. It does not matter if you meet all of the requirements. If you're not on a Z visa and then a residence permit, you are not teaching legally in China, okay? So even if you meet all the legal requirements, if you're not on the correct visa, you're not working legally. Now let's talk a little bit about those of you who just don't meet the requirements. Either you don't have a bachelor's degree or you're a non-native speaker who's not like a certified teacher from your home country. You're going to be teaching illegally in China. Now this is totally possible. I have many friends who have done this and they got away with it. I actually do not personally know anybody who has gotten deported for teaching on the wrong visa, all right? So I have heard stories of this happening, but I don't personally know anyone who this has happened to, and I know a fair few people who have or are still teaching on the wrong visa. Now, what you need to know is that China is sort of cracking down on this, so you just need to be a bit careful, right? Don't broadcast the fact that you're a teacher. Don't go on a 500-person WeChat group and someone's saying, I'm from Russia and I don't have a bachelor's degree. Can anybody hire me at your school? Don't like volunteer yourself and be like, my school will probably hire you. I'm not on the legal visa either. Like, just be careful, right? Don't just broadcast to everyone that you're teaching illegally. Your friends can know, sure, but like, don't aggressively go out and tell everyone. You might also want to be a little bit careful about banking. I have heard through the grapevine that the Chinese government is looking into people that have consistent incomes coming into a Chinese bank account every month, but they're not on a legal work visa and they're not paying taxes on it. Because let's say you're in China on a long-term tourist visa, why would you have like a consistent 10,000 RMB coming into your bank account every month? Wonder why? It's because you're working, duh. Just talk with your school about this. Ask them what's going on, because if they're hiring you illegally, they probably know. And just see, maybe you can get paid in cash. Maybe you can get paid into your bank account back at home. There's probably some way around this, but just be a little bit careful. Now, another way to sort of teach illegally is to teach part-time. Some people, they teach part-time at multiple different schools and sort of combine it together to create a full-time income. Other people teach abroad part-time on, like, let's say a student visa. So theoretically, if you were getting your master's degree in China and you taught part-time on a student visa, it would not technically be legal, but you could probably do it anyway and not get in trouble because it's on the down low. But yeah. Anyway, if you're a student either studying abroad or getting your degree or your master's degree or whatever in China, and you do want to teach on the side, you can probably get away with this without getting in trouble. Your safest bets are to tutor people or to teach either in your own home or a cafe, because there's no paper trail. If you are teaching in like a training center, just be sure to get paid in cash. And if anybody asks, you're volunteering your services, all right? You're coming in for the day to teach English for fun. But the chances of you getting caught doing this, especially if you're getting paid in cash, are very, very slim. It's just important to know that, yeah, if you're on a student visa, you're not supposed to legally be working. But it is theoretically a good way to make an extra side income so that you can survive while getting your master's degree. Now, finally, those of you who are on a legal work visa, you also are not supposed to teach part-time, and a lot of people don't know this, but basically your work visa is tied to the school that you're working for. Okay, so if you get hired full-time to teach at this one school and then you start teaching part-time somewhere else, that part-time job is technically illegal because you're only supposed to be working for the school that hired you. Now, you can theoretically get away with this. I'd actually be most worried about your school finding out and then firing you. If you do want to do this, if you do want sort of a side hustle, you need to be a little bit careful. Some schools are actually okay with this, so you might want to run it by your school. But what I would do is teach or tutor something that is completely different from your day job. So let's say you work in a public high school teaching English, and you have a little tutoring job where you teach 3-4-year-olds. Your school's probably not going to care. You're not stealing away customers from your school, right? Or you're not poaching your own students and tutoring them on the side and giving them special treatment, okay? You're doing something completely different. But you just need to be a little bit careful. It's probably safer to do like one-on-one or small group tutoring or something like that rather than to work for another school, because your school would probably be pissed, right? Like, can you imagine if you paid for somebody's visa stuff, flew them over, got them all set up in China, and then you find out that some other school is using their talents in their spare time and not paying a dime for any of that kind of stuff? I'd be pissed if I was the school, right? So you just want to be a little bit careful if you are working on the side, if you want a side hustle while teaching abroad in China. Now, another way that you could teach illegally while still meeting all the legal requirements is if you are working for a school that's not on your visa. Now, I didn't realize this, but my first year, the first year that I taught abroad, the school on my visa was not actually the school that I was working for, right? So I was working for school A, but my visa said I was working for school B. And that's because my school was not legally allowed to hire foreign teachers. They didn't get the permits for it, okay? Whatever it was. They didn't get approved for it. So this other school was doing my school a favor by hiring me for the visa. Now, I thought this was fine. My school explained it to me. They said, it's just bureaucracy. Don't worry about it. It's China. But one of my friends was sent home for doing the same exact thing. She wasn't technically deported. They had to send her home, though, because the school on her visa was not the school that she was working for. So they said, look, you can't be here in China on this visa because this isn't the school that you're working for. So you need to go home and find another job and then reapply and we'll let you back in. So she wasn't technically deported, but she did get in trouble. She did get sent home. And of course I was scared, right? Like, I'm not working for the school that I'm supposed to be working for. I had no idea how serious it was. But you need to just be really careful when signing a contract that the school on your visa is the school that you're actually working for. All right, now hopefully that cleared everything up about who exactly is legal to teach in China and who is not, and what the rules are and what exactly you need to teach legally. So if you have any questions about any of that stuff, if any of this was not clear, please feel free to leave a comment below. I love getting new comments and I will be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Now, if you do really want to find an awesome high-paying job in China and get the legal requirements together and start working on that visa, I highly suggest downloading my free guide, 10 Steps to Landing an Awesome High-Paying Job in China. This guide will walk you through the entire process from finding and interviewing at these awesome jobs to actually preparing everything for your visa and eventually arriving in China. So if you want the guide, I've got links to it below, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you get more awesome China Teach Abroad content from me. See you later!